Welcome everyone to my latest Stellaris Let's Play. My name is Macsen. For this Let's Play I'll be using a specially created empire which will allow me to showcase a certain amount of really cool features added within the Utopia expansion and also the 1.62 patch. I'll also be discussing the upcoming 1.8 J.I.H.A.D patch, which I believe will be out about a month or two after the release of this Let's Play. That patch and its accompanying DLC is going to mainly focus on robots. So for that reason I'm not going to be focusing on robots at all pretty much in this Let's Play because a lot of changes are coming. The game's director, Martin Anwood, has been mentioning a lot about that patch on Twitter recently, so I'll be able to fill you in as well on things that he's mentioned in terms of changes that are going to be made to the game. But in terms of what I'm going to be showing off for this Let's Play, I'm going to be trying to show off the psionics ascension and also terraforming, which was a lot of changes were made to terraforming in 1.62. Now to facilitate that, I've picked certain ethics and civics here and traits. So Fanatic Spiritualists was a very good ethic choice if you want to play as a psionic empire, so that's why I've made that decision. Xenophobes, well, because xenophobes are big, well, they actually don't like being genetically modified, and for that reason you basically have to stick to a certain planet type. I'm going to be terraforming all my worlds basically to be arid worlds so that they can live on them. It doesn't prevent me from actually using genetic modification though to slaves, so I'm going to actually pick extra species to start on my homeworld. Syncretic evolution via the civics is one of my favourite choices. I intend to enslave a lot of species, and I've actually built that into the backstory with this race. A lot of these features which I'll be reading out later on. So you may have actually watched my guide. If you haven't, please check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the cards and the eye symbol up here. Basically I did a guide on species rights and also species specialization for certain build types, whether leaders, scientists, energy builds, miners, farmers, warriors, pets, livestock, and so on. For slaves, miners and farmers are very important, and the proles that I start with, that syncretic evolution trait, they'll be very good for that. But I'll also be hoping to pick up species that will make a good warrior, perhaps very strong and resilient, kind of the key traits for that. Whether it's pre-sentient I pick up, or a primitive, or another empire species, it doesn't really matter. Pre-sentients are the best though. Pet builds are useful, domestic servants, but sadly charismatic trait, which used to work well with it, was nerfed, so that's not really good for it anymore, but domestic servant still works, the species rights do. Livestock are pretty good. I doubt that I'll be able to get the delicious trait though without going for the genetic ascension unless someone else gets it for me, but I'll be on the lookout for species that I can make or turn into livestock also perhaps. In terms of the other traits and stuff I picked here, this civic choice, cutthroat politics, is very good. It's one of my favorites as well. Sexual influence is always very nice. This type of government, imperial, works very well with these ethic choices. In terms of attraction and so on, so that's why I've gone for that. So my starting species is called the J.I.H.A.D, and the traits I've actually picked here tie into the other choices I've made as well. I've gone for intelligent, thrifty and quick learners as my positive traits. Now all of those work very well for free citizens and not slaves basically. Now it's very likely within my xenophobic empire that my starting species is going to be the only citizen that is a free citizen. So I'm kind of having to combine these three roles of leaders, scientists and energy, and that's why I've made those trait picks. So energy is very useful. If you want a scientist, there's no better pick. Thrifty for money, extra energy is great. I actually am going to need a lot of energy in this game. Terraforming does cost a lot. Quick learners is one of the best leader traits, so that's why I've gone for that. If you want really good scientists, admirals, generals, leaders, governors, then yeah, it's very good. It's only 1 point in cost as well, unlike those two, which are 2 points each. Now you only start with 2 points, so I have actually had to pick a couple of negative traits to get some points back to allow me to pick those. I've gone for non-adaptive. That's a couple of points back. It lowers habitability by 10%. It's really not going to be too much of an issue though, since I'm going to terraform everywhere to be arid, which will raise the habitability of all my worlds, so it won't be much of an issue whatsoever. Decadent lowers happiness if you don't have slaves accompanying this race, but I start with syncretic evolution, so I intend to have slaves on all my worlds accompanying the J.I.H.A.D anyway. And in fact, decadent can actually be positive. In terms of ethics attraction, it's useful in attracting autocrats, which, if we're going to have slaves, will naturally be attracted anyway, in terms of our factions. Yeah, it goes well with xenophobic empires. Autocratic factions do anyway, so it won't be an issue whatsoever, and in fact, yeah, it can be a positive, I think, in terms of getting extra influence from factions. Now, in terms of the backstory to this empire, I did want to do a bit of a story-based backstory, but sadly there's a limited amount of space here, so I've gone for a shortened version here, and this will give you an idea about how the race got going and how I intend to play it even more. So the J.I.H.A.D were a peaceful industrial age species that were attacked by unknown xeno-aggressors. Their resources were stolen, their cities destroyed, their people slaughtered for decades. Eventually, the democracies, which were incapable of doing anything about it, were overthrown by a religious dawn that eventually reunited the society. The xenos' raid stopped abruptly for unknown reasons. Rapidly after the raid stopped, the J.I.H.A.D developed space programs and entered a new age, but the distrust of all aliens continued due to their previous experiences. Basically, all of the xenos that they encounter, they are distrustful of, as they could have links to their unknown aggressor. They're intent on revenge, and that's really what drives them. Also, the purity of their species and their believed inherent abilities. They actually enslaved a species on an outlying moon of a gas giant within their system, which is linked to that ability. Basically, that species that enslaved, they were tortured and forced to work on their homeworld. They were interrogated by religious tribunals. Some of the tribunal members are actually rumored to have unusual powers, possibly psionic in nature. Eventually, the J.I.H.A.D species developed hyperwarp, which allows them to further explore the galaxy, and their government was unified on their starting homeworld of Cradle, and they formed a new empire, the J.I.H.A.D Interstellar Harmonious Ascendant Dominion, which happens to be an acronym. So that's basically the backstory to this empire. Perhaps one of the advanced AI stats could be the xenos that we're looking for, or even a fallen empire, but I'll come to that detail perhaps later on. Before I get to that game settings and pick those, there's a couple more things I should mention. I'm going to start with mass drivers. Hyperspace travel is the warp type I'm going to use. And I'd just like to thank those of you as well who voted in the straw poll I did before starting this Let's Play. Stellaris was one of the options, and indeed it is the option that actually won. The other games that were part of that straw poll will probably feature on the channel again in the future. There's going to be a lot of Stellaris coming up though with this Let's Play and the 1.8 patch as well. I probably will be playing a lot of Stellaris coming up. So I'd just like to thank those of you voting that straw poll, and hope you check out the future content. Right, let's get to the game settings then. So these are the game details, the game settings that I'll be using for this Let's Play. I've gone for a medium-sized galaxy. It's a pretty decent size, not too big though, not too small either. I'm going to go for elliptical shaped galaxy, which works quite well with hyperdrive engines. There's a lot of different routes still for that, and it's not too limited on where you can travel. These Empire options are pretty much the default for the galaxy size. I believe I haven't changed them whatsoever. In terms of hyperdrive, I'm actually going to have it as the only FDL method, which I believe they might actually be making changes to the drives actually within the game at some point, probably after 1.8, not sure when. I think they may even be combining the drives into just a version of hyperspace, because, well, Martin Anwood's mentioned before, I think he doesn't like all of the different drives for various reasons. So this could become the norm in future, so I want to get used to it. In terms of the other settings, I'm going to lower the amount of habitable worlds. I believe they're actually doing that in the next patch, so I want to get used to that, there being less habitable worlds. I've gone for pretty much default input. Other than that, I think I've gone for no advanced neighbours, because it's not very nice having an advanced neighbour next to you. One big change here is to difficulty. I normally play it on hard difficulty, but I found that it takes a while to build up initially to be able to just take on those empires on the harder difficulties. So I'd prefer there to be combat against other empires in a small amount of videos. So I've gone for normal difficulty for that reason. Hopefully, yeah, you'll prefer seeing combat a bit sooner. Hopefully that will be the case, which I believe is more likely to be on normal difficulty. There's no guarantees, but it should be the case in most circumstances. Will I be getting into combat a bit sooner? But yeah, that's my decision, reasons for that decision. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of settings. I'm ready to get going. The last thing I should mention actually is to do with the 1.8 patch coming up. Since we're using a syncretic evolution, sadly in this patch you can't choose the appearance of that species. You will be able to in 1.8. Because I'm not able to pick it currently, what I may do actually is restart using these game settings for each start, of course, until I get the appearance of that species that I like. Not sure which one I want actually really yet, but yeah, I'll start, and if basically I need to cut out all of those restarts, I will. But we'll get going here until I find the graphic I want. So after about 50 attempts at trying to get the graphic I wanted for the Prol species, I've settled for Mr. Kitty Cat, who happens to be of the Erekthala species, and yeah, all of these Prols are the same despite the different graphics. So he's going to be great when it comes to mineral and food extraction. Even gets a bit of extra governing ethics attractions that'll be easy to keep control of, and he's strong as well, so that's more mineral extraction, and he'll even be pretty good when it comes to turning into soldiers as well. Looks like we got quite a nice planet to start out. 19 tiles. It's anywhere between 16 and 20, I believe. Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of our start then. It looks like we're down in the southwest corner, and there's 2 systems within our starting territory, which isn't brilliant, but it's not terrible. You can have like 1 sometimes. So let's immediately get my science ship to survey in there. I'm going to split up my fleet. I'm going to send them out in a second. Let's see what our starting Arch Prophetess happens to be like. Extra energy credits and minus the building cost. Not too bad. We get near coming out pretty soon. Our initial skill development is extra leader experience. Not too bad. At this stage in the game, the key important thing is minerals. Actually, in the next patch, I believe they're going to give a bigger starting base amount. So currently, yeah, 11 is tiny. I mean, that takes, what, 8 months to get a mining station up. So you really have to focus on minerals pretty significantly at the moment. I have done a guide actually on the early game. It's a bit dated now. A lot of things have changed, but it's still well worth checking out. But how I would handle the start, well, you'll get to see it in this Let's Play. That's, yeah, there's a few changes definitely. So what's going on here? What do I want out of those? I'm going to go for the solar panel network. You start with colony ship tech these days, of course. I don't have to get that, and that changes things definitely. I'm going to go for the influence there, which is incredibly important. I would have liked some weapons here, and nuclear missiles are rubbish still at the moment. there's going to be a lot of changes to weapons and ships coming up in 1.8. Supposedly they're rebalancing things. I'll be discussing more about that coming up. I think I may actually go for engineering facility. I've always been a fan of getting a society building in the main, but with the changes that have been made to the game, yeah, just focusing on one research type as well I think is a good idea. But with all of the new mega structures, engineering's a lot more important, and I will want to get the weapons as well. So yeah, it's more important than ever, I think, engineering. I still need a lot of society for things like terraforming and psionics and gene manipulation, but there are ways to get it in other methods as well, which I can discuss later on. So I think I'll go for engineering in this game, but I wouldn't always, but it's more likely these days certainly. Let's stick that there. He's a better researcher. Starting scientists, it's got that. These days I must admit I tend to get a second science ship out a lot more than I used to as well. I am tempted to do it now. Let's get my exploring fleets sent out though, and we have to travel along these lanes at hyperwarp. Now early on I'm basically looking for primitives to conquer, especially with a more malicious race like the one we are playing. I don't really want to find too many other empires, because when you conquer primitives it lowers your relations. Also, if I were to use them as livestock, that incurs a massive penalty for xenophaging, and I may well want to do that, so knowing a lot of empires early on wouldn't be a great idea, but we'll see. So I'm not going to explore too much at the moment, looking for primitives. We've got a new air, which is not going to matter for a while. Investor weapon damage, sure, that might be useful by the time she gets in. Okay, and let's go. So what I'm looking for here now is minerals. I'm pretty much just minerals at this stage. I don't think I'll hire a scientist quite yet. If there was more stars within my territory, I would. There's nothing particularly amazing here either. Although the biologist one will be very important later on. Would want a good survey one for finding anomalies perhaps. So we're looking for dry worlds and mainly arid worlds and Gaia worlds at this stage.
Situation log updated.
Okay, we've got an encounter already. Identified ships. Investigate alpha minutes. I'm not going to do that yet. There's not much point. It takes a long time, and I'd rather be getting that influence. Okay, so I'm going to check out. Ooh, that could well be another empire already, which is not what I wanted to see. Okay. Yeah, it's starting to look like it. Okay. I think it is another empire, right? That's a pain. We'll have to deal with them. They're right next to us as well. Okay. So it could definitely be very early wars coming up in this Let's Play. I would have preferred them a bit farther away. I would have liked to conquer a primitive without any issue. Now, not all empires will be annoyed at you conquering primitives. It kind of depends on their ethics, what personality they have based on their ethics. Right. Oh, and I should be paying attention to that. I forgot. Let's get a constructor to that. Okay. Right, all my ships are now in place. So one thing with the primitives is, if I hold Alt, you can see all the planets showing up. Now sometimes primitives can be in a system where a planetary symbol doesn't actually show up. So because of that, if you want to conquer primitives, it's in your interest to look through these systems to see if there's any worlds that don't show up, basically. Because it does happen, and not everyone's aware of this, and I mention it in every Let's Play I do. So I'm going to take a minute out to look through these systems, see if there are any primitives there. Okay, I couldn't find any primitives in the areas I've explored so far, but I've given all of my ships new destinations to travel to, so they, who knows, might be some in there. There could, of course, be primitives on these planets I've already found. So with that in mind, I am actually now going to make another science ship, and I will hire a scientist to go on it, which you need to do. Perhaps I'll wait if one comes on here. Better knows. Doubt it, but at least to give myself a shot at it. Right, let's continue on then. Okay, so that's basically getting done. Haven't found any more minerals, and I was really hoping for this to turn up early, because I want to survey all these worlds as quickly as possible. So this, what you have to do is basically survey planets. You can turn it down and just get influence. It's definitely not worthwhile, that though, in the vast majority of circumstances, if not all. So you get extra society and money, energy for doing this.
Situation log updated.
Okay, and yeah, I just have to survey these planets, which another science ship will certainly help with. I'm not sure what I'm hoping for here. In some regards, I'm hoping for a more militant empire to turn up. Another good idea to check out with these, as well as what world they start on, it happens to be Alpine, so I can basically try and stick outposts on all the nearby Alpine worlds to stop them from colonizing a lot. That's what I'll be possibly doing if it is possible.
Construction complete.
What was I saying? And I've completely forgotten. Right, so completed science ship on Cradle. Let's get a new scientist hired, and I haven't done it, have I? So let's recruit. I'll get a biologist. Let's check out this. I think I'm gonna have him. So we'll stick. I guess I'll stick that one there. Probably. No, I'll stick the biologist there for the time being, even though it's not gonna work there definitely. Let's stick. I want the influence done quicker. Yeah, let's get down there. So I think first of all, before I go checking out these planets, what I'm gonna do is just survey inside my territory, because it's the only place I can really, yeah, get stations up. Well, mining stations at least. Right, there's more planets. So there. Right. There's a lot to survey already. Gonna loop all the way around there. Shouldn't be another empire in there.
System survey complete.
Torch fully surveyed. That is our sun. Torch and Cradle. Let's get surveyed there. So no more minerals, sadly, which is a problem. I need to get them up. So pretty early game. If you do see a massive source of something that's, well, 4 or more certainly, 3 or more is kind of borderline, you should, yeah, get it up reasonably soon. But in the first 5 years, just minerals, pretty
Anomaly
much.
found. Construction complete.
Definitely. Construction complete on I don't know what. We can come back to anomaly when my leaders have better experience. I could get that energy now, but no, I'm gonna wait. It's not important. I am actually earning a decent amount of energy. Later on it will be more important. Okay, so I guess I'll bring a constructor today. I arguably could put it back to base to get some energy back, but hopefully I'll find something.
Situation log updated.
Okay, encounter in Yonox more. What is... Oh, right, so it looks like we found a station. I think there. Once all of my ships are done their routes, I'm gonna take a minute out to look for primitives again. In the last Let's Play I did, it took absolutely ages before an example happened where, yeah, people could see it, so I hope that's not the case again. It's, not a case of... Yeah, you can figure out where they are before you actually survey a system, basically. You don't have to survey a system to know where they are. Once you survey the primitives, a symbol will pop up for them. In regards of these ones that are already showing up, though, you can't tell if it's a primitive on there or not. But you can, like, tell if there's a primitive, if there's a world in there with that symbol that isn't showing up on this main galactic map.
Situation
But you'll
log
see what I'm on about in a
updated.
minute, hopefully. Right, if you... I know what I'm on about now. Right, don't know what's going on there. Alien Menace, is it? Right. Oh, minerals showed up. Let's go and grab them. It's a pretty nice source. Happens to be on a colonizable world, but it's within my territory, so there's no rush to colonize that if I've got something else to colonize, like that or that. So there'll be priorities certainly coming up. Need about 350, I believe, unless I got a bonus for the colony ship. Yeah. Okay. I wouldn't mind getting my unity up as well for traditions, which were added within, I think, Utopia 1.5. So once, yeah, I'll be doing that reasonably soon, perhaps on the homeworld. Okay, communications established with the Natraxi manufacturing. Okay, looks a happy chat. They are Federation builders, which are pretty pacifistic, peaceful from memory. Federation builders consider all sentient life to have value and will seek to form a strong federation to protect themselves and others from expansionist empires. Definite scum. They are not going to like me conquering primitives. So... oh, and actually minus 40 because slavery, xenophobic, and spiritualist. So arguably I should just immediately rival those guys, but I don't really want to make a fleet yet. Around the time the pirates come, that's when I'll do it. So I won't do it quite yet, because I certainly don't have the minerals yet. Okay. Bit more minerals there, good. It's not... construct the ship's 90 minerals, so it's not really worth making another one at this stage. This guy's leveled up already. Excellent. Right.
System survey complete.
Brilliant, the survey's done. So let's go and send this out to find out about these worlds. Get that survey quest done, and obviously I want to find a place to colonize. That's a definite location. What's down here then? I would like to build maybe some military outposts to block them in. I remember everyone's hyperwarp now. If I can build an outpost down there and down there, I'd completely block them in, especially if I close their borders. So I may well be doing that. That is Arctic as well, which you can colonize. So I think I want to get a survey down to there and make an outpost in this area pretty damn soon. But it will be quite expensive. But I did take cutthroat politics, so get an extra influence to start, which is going to be very useful. Okay, I'm going to take a quick minute out then to possibly redo my routes and have a look to see if there's some primitives in any of these systems. Sadly, I couldn't find any hidden primitives still, but I've given my ship some routes still. That's actually returning back to Torch. I want to do exploration there just so I've got a loop around there. That's going to go up to there. So not doing much exploration now. I'm just going to survey all these planets before I send out my ships again to do more exploration. This science ship, I've got surveying these planets around here, and going to survey the suns, which allows you to make outposts. So yeah, I definitely want an outpost either on there or there, I think. And I'm pretty much ready to get going again, I think. So yeah, let's do just that. Right, focusing on minerals still.
System survey complete.
Yeah, if I get an outpost down there, I'd pretty much block him in, because his only other route is around there with hyperwarp, how it works. Right, so that's surveyed. Yeah, quite a few nice stuff there. With this one, let's start surveying the planets on this side. Hold shift down to do more than one. There's only a couple of planets over there. Have I done? Yeah, I've done now. Right, I'll do. Okay. Waiting on constructed to finish its work now. What's the next scientist on the list? Is there any good ones? No. Right.
Construction complete.
Is that... no, not quite finished yet. Miner station's done. Let's get the constructor up over to there. Still got a decent amount of money. I might start saving that. Well, outposts are 200 minerals. So, and colonies are 350 at default. So I think that's what I'm saving that for now if I can't get any more minerals. Okay, pirates. I think the event can happen when you start making your first colony ship, or perhaps after you've got your first colonized world. I can't remember which now.
Situation log updated.
Countering Antares, which happens to be a void alien, I think that is. Okay. So that's surveyed there, nothing there. Pre-sentient's incredibly rare, but that's what I would really like to turn up. Oh, by the way, this species, that is what traits they have. To be honest, they're pretty rubbish. I'm not going to be able to make much use out of that. Both of those are really bad. They would be a slave, so that's going to be pretty much useless. Strons, well, I've already got that with the proles, who are much better, and charismatic, yeah, it's not good for us either. Charismatic used to, I think, alter the faction attraction. I'm not going to talk much about this until we get an actual faction, but not sure it does anymore. Repugnant either, sadly. Communications established. Oh, with the curator guys. Right, I'm not going to bother too much with them at the moment. I probably need a lot of resources. Might want to stick an outpost over there, though, to get them within my borders. That's a pretty good idea with the trader type guys. Okay, that's going down there. Right, so I think I just scouted all of these. I'll just quickly look in here to see if there's a hidden planet. Doesn't. That has primitives on? Nope. Oh well. Right, that's enough for scouting for the time being, and at least until I surveyed all these planets. Then I'll do a bit more. Right. I got a feeling I'm gonna go after these very soon now. Try and conquer them. I don't want them colonizing a lot because the population is not that useful. Don't want them all over this area really. So I might go after them when they try to colonize a second world. That's what I'm thinking of declaring war now. If I have a fleet by then, which since I have a low, well, there's not an awful lot of minerals up here. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get a fleet up easily.
Construction complete.
I'll try. Mining station's done. So that's all I can do in terms of getting extra minerals from stations. I don't think there's any point in spending 90 minerals on getting anything else here at the moment, so I'm just going to save that for either an outpost now or a colony ship. I'll have to see which coming up.
Anomaly found.
Survey complete. Anomaly, come back to that later when I get a better chance. So this is to have the world survey, got extra energy and society. Okay, leader leveled up. So I think there might be an anomaly on that world. That's a problem. That prevents me from colonizing until I've done that anomaly, I think. And I might have wanted to colonize that one next. Okay, that one's done. Right. I think I'll survey that system, because that may well be the one I colonize next. It might have to be, actually. Could do that desert world though. Right. Let's continue on for a couple more minutes.
Situation log updated.
Right. Sublight exploration probes. Right, let's begin to event chain. So I think I have to go and find all of these. But I might need some combat ships for this one. I think I've had it before. So I'm not really able to do that yet, arguably. But I will be doing it coming up. Might want to get some exploring done over to there, perhaps, coming up. Okay, where is my scientist then? Right, that's gonna survey that.
Situation log updated. Evading hostile fleet.
There, which is probably just they're amoeba aliens. Right, that scientist cancelled that. survey here still. Should be alright. They'll move in a minute. Okay. Should I get... Yeah, I guess I'll... Oh. Can I... Oh, they're interfering. I'll bring it up today, and then once they're gone, I'll come around there with it. Okay. Right, got 300 minerals. This hasn't surveyed here yet, so I can't build the outpost quite yet. I'd also have to get a constructor over there, which maybe I should be bringing over there actually, so I think I will. Go down that route. Right. Block them in. Stop them from getting that. I think that's going to be the plan now rather than the colony ship. I'll go for the colony ship next. I don't know how much that's going to cost though, and I won't be able to tell until I've surveyed it sadly, so I might not do that, but we'll see coming up. In fact, I think I'll figure it out at the start
Situation log updated.
Next video, because I'm going to have to call it the end of the video. At this point it's probably been about
Anomaly found.
half an hour. Let's close that. Sublight probe discovered.
Situation log updated.
And I need to do that. So I hope you enjoyed this first video of my latest Stellaris Let's Play. If you did, you'd be really helping me out if you were to give it a like, and any future videos you enjoy a like as well, as that helps to boost my videos in YouTube search rankings, and yeah, allows people to actually find my videos in the first place. If you have any comments or questions about this Let's Play series, or just want to say hi or whatever, please use the comment section. I respond to comments no matter how old a video is. If you're new to the channel or even old to the channel, you may want to consider subscribing. That will allow you, of course, to know when content's out, especially if you click the bell icon, as that gives you notifications. And I should also mention a couple of other things. I happen to have a Twitter page these days if you want to check that out. It's another way to find out when videos are coming out or what's going on a channel. So yeah, if you're interested in that, please follow me on there. And also, in regards of content that's already on the channel and coming in the future, please check out my homepage and my playlist. There's tons of content like this, and tons more content will be coming in the future for genres like this, 4X and grand strategy, and other genres possibly as well, like RPG. I've done a lot of content for Pillars of Eternity, for example, guides for that. And the last thing I should mention is I have a Patreon page. Patreon is a service that helps to facilitate people supporting creative content, like stuff on YouTube, and there's loads of channels using these, as I'm sure you're aware of it already. Many of you will be. If you want to help support my channel, please check out my Patreon page. You can support from as little as $1 a month, and that goes a massive way in motivating me to continue on making these videos. And I could really do with a lot more help actually. So if you do want to become a patron of mine, that would be fantastic. And there are some benefits the more you support the channel on that Patreon page, so please check it out. Right, that's it then for this first video. Tons more to come. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.